Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nomsa. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, I hope you like what you see and you subscribe. We are doing a get to know me tag. Guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm nervous. I'm a little bit nervous because I decided to do it this way, where you guys actually ask me questions that you want to know about me, instead of me just going on the internet and just bringing questions that are not even interesting to you about myself. So I am a little bit nervous, but I will answer as best as I can. And I hope by the end of this video, you guys feel like you do know me a little bit more. And also, thank you so much for sending the questions through. I also was nervous about that part because I wasn't sure if I was going to get any questions, you know. So yeah, let's get right into it. I don't want to waste any more time. So the first question is from Life with Lou. Hi Lou. My daughter is Lulu as well. Her name is Luyanda. We call her Lou. So hi Lou. Her question is, what line of work were you in before you became a stay-at-home mom, and what informed your decision to become a stay-at-home mom? So I was in the communications sector. I worked in the telecoms industry. My last job, I was in that company for 11 years. And before that, I had worked for different other telecommunications companies. I left my job because I just did not feel fulfilled anymore, especially when I was moving towards the 10-year mark in that particular company. I just started feeling an overwhelming feeling of dissatisfaction, of feeling like I was betraying myself and I was betraying God by not using my gifts. You know what I'm saying? You know, in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I felt strongly that I was in the self-actualization part of that hierarchy. I wanted to just live in my purpose and do things that fulfilled me. It was not motivated by money or anything like that. I actually left a good paying job to getting, you know, but would I do it again? I probably would, but differently. So yeah. Tobek Amgoma says, have you always been this calm and radiant from your childhood? Please share a little bit about how you were raised. Love you lots. Thank you, babe. I have always been calm and radiant. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. But I've always been calm. I'm a calm person, but I am a no-nonsense taker. Okay. Even in my no-nonsense taking, I am still calm. So yes, I've always been this calm. It's just who I am from when I can remember. Please share a little bit about how you were raised. So I was brought up by my grandmother and grandfather. And because my mom had me when she wasn't married to my biological father. My biological father was hardly in the picture. So my mom got married, left me with my grandmother and grandfather to bring me up. She was in the picture, but obviously not full time. So my full-time parents were my grandparents. So obviously if you are brought up by grandparents, you are loved. You know, the one thing that you will always have is love and support. But they unfortunately, obviously, were not in touch with just how I was growing up and the era that I was growing up in, and the kind of advice that I needed and the kind of guidance that I needed to lead me to a path that would help me in the future in terms of career, school, and all of those things. I had to figure those things all by myself. But you know what? I will say to you, I did have a good childhood because I had a stable home. I had a mother figure and a father figure in the home. So my childhood, I'm not gonna sit here and act like, yeah, I was a neglected child. I wasn't brought up by my parents biologically like that full time, but I definitely had a mother and father figure in my life. And this is what you're seeing. That made me who I am. So I'll never downplay that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the next question is from Jenny with Mbali. She says, what challenges have you faced as a stay-at-home mama, and how have you overcome these challenges? This is a very good question because I did not leave my job to become a stay-at-home mom. I left my job with a dream, a vision to run a business from home. It just so happened that I left my job in 2019, and then 2020 COVID hit, right? And I unfortunately could not do anything because the type of business that I was doing, so I was selling clothes. It's one of the businesses I was doing. I was selling clothes. I had an Instagram boutique, and my Instagram boutique was doing fairly well, which is what also motivated me to leave my job, because I thought I could grow this thing to be something big. Just as I started and I had done all the groundwork, found a seamstress, because initially I was importing stuff from China, and then I decided I'm going to do like a hybrid of the two where I make my own clothes and still import stuff from China. But COVID hit in March. I left my job 2019 December, and in March COVID hit, and people were not buying clothes, people were stuck at home, nothing was moving. So unfortunately, I was not able to pick myself up from that after COVID. And that's where I am. And the second part of your question says, how have I overcome these challenges? I'm still overcoming the challenges because, like I'm saying to you, the plan was not to become a stay-at-home mom. I love my children to bits. I take care of them with pleasure. I take care of my husband with pleasure, but it was not the plan to do this full time. So I've had to make some adjustments. I went through a very difficult period last year, especially because 2020, 2021, we were all still recovering from COVID. Everyone did not really have it all together then. 2022, everybody's life was almost going back to normal, I'll say. And my normal was now me being faced with the situation of staying at home and being a homemaker full time, which is not what I had planned. And I've had to really work through that. I struggled a lot mentally. It caused me a lot of anxiety. I worried about my future. I worried about just myself, like my self-worth. But I am overcoming that. This year is really, really better. This year I'm doing my YouTube. I'm doing other stuff outside too, and I'm just strengthening my relationship with God to make sure that I still live out my dream of being a business person, an entrepreneur, because I believe I am at heart, and this is part of that journey. So that's how I am navigating it. I will say to you, it's not easy, especially if it's not something that you wanted to do, you planned to do. I've always been an independent person, even within my marriage. My husband is very loving and supportive, but I've always been a working girl, and now all of a sudden I'm not working. I'm having to rely on my husband for everything, and it wasn't an easy thing. It's still not an easy thing, but because I have a plan, and it's got nothing to do with my relationship with my husband or whether he assists me. My husband is 100% supportive of everything I do. It's just a personal thing where I want to do certain things for myself. So it's been hard, but it's definitely getting better. And this channel is one of the things that's really making it better for me. Next question is by Linz. Hi Linz. She says, I'm intrigued, inspired, and overall obsessed with you. Thank you. She says in a good way, of course. I'd like to know more about you in general. What motivates you? You seem to have it all together. Babe, I've got nothing together. Don't be fooled by little snippets of our lives that you see on the internet and think that your life is a mess because you see me taking a walk to the park with my family and you seem more happy. We all have challenges in life, and I'm not exempted from that. I definitely do not have it all together. But one thing my mom taught me is to never look like your problems. Okay? She said, I'd like to know more about you in general. What motivates you? What motivates me is, I don't know how you guys will receive this, but what motivates me to do my best, to always try to fall 100 times and stand up 101 times is the fact that I'm going to die one day and God is going to ask me, what have you done with the life that I blessed you with? That is the only thing that motivates me. Not my children, not my mom, not my husband. What has God given me that I'm meant to utilize in this life? The uniqueness of myself. what have I done with that? You know the story in the Bible of the three guys that got talents. The one got one, the other two, and the one got five. The one that got five was able to increase his talents, so did the one with the two. They were able to increase their talents. The one that got the one talent took the talent and dug it underground, and when it was time to present what they had done with their talents, the one came back with the one that was given. And like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to come onto this earth with talents and gifts and die with them. You know, that's the one thing that motivates me, to live in my purpose, to use my God-given talents however I can. So that is what motivates me. She also goes on to say, what is your take on adult friendships? Do you have a bestie, and how do you navigate friendships? So my take on adult friendships is that they are very important. Adult friendships, I feel like they are the breath of fresh air that we need, because I would, this is my take, I would think at this age of my life, I know exactly what I like, what motivates me, what I don't like in other people, what motivates me in other people. Like, I know exactly what I'm looking for in a friendship. And for me, it should be easy being in adult friendships, because I know that I've got my family to take care of. Like, I don't have time all the time to be hanging out with friends, to be bickering with people. Adult friendships are the friendships that we should be enjoying, because we know who we are by now. We know what takes us off. We know what we enjoy, and we can almost cut out all the other stuff that we don't need, you know. But it's not that simple, because people are different, right? And you go on to ask me, do I have a bestie, and how do I balance and navigate friendships? I do not have a bestie. I've learned the hard way to not categorize people like that, or to put people on a pedestal. You know, I wouldn't want to be called anyone's bestie, because that comes with a lot of pressure. I've also had to learn that a lot, because once a person called me their bestie, I automatically have expectations of them, because it means I'm separated from the rest, and how you treat me compared to how you treat others or your other friends is going to be different. But that's not what it means for some people. I have a different understanding of what a best friend is, and the next person will have a different interpretation of the term. So I've learned to never use the term best friend. I do not have that. I do not call anybody my best friend. All the friends that I have that are close to me, they are my close friends. They're not my best friends, because now it's almost like you're separating, like you're making this person more important than the next. But in friendships, people bring different things to you. And I can't say the one that gives me emotional support is more important than the one that is there for me when I want to go and grab a coffee and just kiki and have a good time. I can't, because they all serve different purposes in my life. So I don't have a best friend, and I don't expect anybody to regard me as their best friend. And that's how I navigate my friendships. I give people space. I've always been the person that's never in people's faces. I will allow you to have time to yourself, to your family, or just have time away from our friendship, but also with the knowledge that you and I are good. You know, I'm not the kind of friend that wants to be in your face all the time, because I also don't want you to be in my face all the time. Like, do you, boo? I do me, and when we meet, it's all beautiful. But wherever you are, know that. And I do make an effort to make people know that I may not have seen you in 6 months, but you and me are good. Like, you are still my friend. That's the type of friendships that I have, and that's how I navigate my friendships. Mpume Kuzayo asks, what is your take on weaves and wigs? Have you ever been into, or just never? I absolutely love your chilled fashion style. Thank you so much, babe. My take on weaves is, babe, do you. If you want to wear a weave, if you want to wear a wig, do that. For me, it's an accessory. It means nothing about who you are. It tells me nothing about the kind of person that you are. It's like wearing earrings and jewelry. It's just an accessory for me. So I've got no issues with weaves at all. In fact, my first formal business was a hair business in 2004. I was selling weaves. And I used to import them from China and sell them. It's one of the businesses that I stopped doing. Don't ask me why. But I absolutely love weaves. Like, I might wear a wig someday. As a matter of fact, I'd like to work with hair companies here on YouTube or in social media in general. I've got no issues with weaves whatsoever. I love them, actually. I appreciate being a black girl because I can rock a pixie yesterday. Today I come here with braids. Tomorrow I'm wearing a bob, a blonde, long 18-inch. Like, do you, babe? Whatever makes you happy, do that. Sorry guys, I had to move because there was that little light that was disturbing me and I didn't like that. Next question is from Yolanda Masuku. She says, have you always been this stylish? You guys are so good for my ego. How's people's reaction to your sense of style and being so modern, especially with your peers? I want to believe that I've always been, so let me say this. I've always been able to put together outfits for myself. And it's just something that's always come effortlessly for me. I've always been a person who likes clothes. If there's one thing I like, my mom said to me the other day when I met her at the mall and I was just taking her in and out of shops looking at clothes. She's like, yo, we as a tanda in but I love clothes. And I've always had the sense of style that I do have. I'm just able to put together outfits effortlessly. And how's people's reaction to your sense of style and being so modern, especially with your peers? I don't know. All I know is the people that do appreciate my style will tell me that they appreciate it. Other than that, I don't really care what other people think. I do it for myself. If not even my husband, like my husband's got opinions on some of my outfits that I wear that he thinks are too street style. I do have a liking to street style fashion or styling where like I'm not put together. Like I don't like being like too prim and proper all the time. There's a time and place for that, but I like to just explore depending on what I feel like. So I don't really, he knows I do what I do, and if you appreciate it, good for you. If you don't, that's that. Life with Miss Malaika says, hello sis, kinda new to your channel, love it. Thank you, sis. She says, what works in picking up your mood when you feel down? You know, I feel like I'm able to give myself a pep talk. Like so first of all, let me say this. I allow myself time to feel sad if I'm feeling sad. If I have to cry it out, I will cry it out. But I don't sit and mope the whole day. I time myself almost like, yes, I don't bottle my feelings up, I let them out, but I don't sit in that, especially sad feelings. I don't sit in them. I don't dwell in them too much. I just let them happen for a period and then I move on. I'm just able to, I guess my mom gave me a pep talk when I was small, like, hey, there's no time to sit around and be crying. Life goes on. Life moves, life happens to everybody. So give yourself that moment. If you're feeling sad, that's what I do. Give myself the moment. I cry, I become in my feelings, and I move on. One thing about me also, I'm not moody. Like if I've got something going on in my life, you're not gonna see it in my face. Trust and believe. Like I'm not gonna take my problems and bring them upon you. If it means I must go into the bathroom and cry it out and come back, that's what I'm gonna do. What are your top 5 things to do in your bucket list? Let me tell you. Okay, I don't really have a bucket list, but there's a few things that I think I know I would like to do in my life. I definitely want to go. I feel like I belong there. I want to go to New York City. I just see myself walking the streets of New York City and just living my best stylish fashion life. I really would love to do that. Another thing I would like to do is to go to the Maldives just for the peace and tranquility. I would like to do a eat, pray, love kind of trip with just myself to Bali. That is something I would definitely love to do for myself. And just experience a different side of me. I think I would also like to do a go to a spiritual place where I'm disconnected from the world, where it's just me, God, my feelings, my thoughts, that kind of thing. And what else would I like to do? Bucket list. I think another thing I would like to do before I die is to do my boobs. I'd like to get my boobs done because, like, guys, I didn't have them before kids. After kids, they totally disappeared. So that's another one of my bucket list items. I hope that that is good for you. Life with Miss Malaika. Have you always been this organized? If not, how did you? Babe, I have always been this organized. One thing about me, I like order. I've always been this organized. I remember when I used to live at home, I had an outside room at my grandmother's house. When I started working, I built myself an outside room. And a friend of mine came to visit me and we were getting ready to go somewhere. So I was getting dressed. So I got dressed when she got there. So I opened my wardrobe and she was like, even today, she tells our other friends about that story. Like, I had never seen anything like that in my life. Her wardrobe, everything was color coordinated. I just like order. That's how I function. My brain cannot function when there's clutter. My family have come to accept me as that person. I think my mom is also a little bit like that. My grandmother was like that, but I think like I'm on another level. I'm always cleaning and mopping. I did say I'm a little bit OCD. And I do get a little bit pedantic sometimes, but I've come to also accept that it's who I am and I'm just gonna be who I am. I've always been this organized. So yeah. In me being so organized also, I don't put it on other people. Like I don't put it on my husband or my children. I try, if it bothers me, I do it myself. If they can do it, they do it. If it bothers me, because sometimes the difference with me is that I know when I'm being too much. Then I just do it myself. I don't expect it from anyone else to do it. I just do it myself. But yeah, to answer your question, yes, I've always been this organized. Vera Siklishe, she says, your experiences, hope it's not too personal. Your experiences with relationships prior to meeting the love of your life. I want to say they were okay. There's nothing to write home about. There isn't one that I can come and tell you it was beautiful. It was just me growing up and meeting boys, and there was really nothing special about them, to an extent where I can't even tell you if there's one that sticks out for me. It was just boys. It was just me growing up meeting boys, and there's really nothing that sticks out in my mind. How I met my husband. So I met my husband, I was just taking a random walk with my one of my late cousins, and I think she was going to go see her boyfriend. I think her boyfriend was like a childhood friend or something with my husband, and they were all together there, and that's how he saw me. The nice thing is I saw him and he saw me, like we saw each other. And that's how we met. It was at a random shop, Elokshine, Orlando. They were standing in that corner. And yeah, that's how we met. And what has taught you, and what marriage has taught you versus your expectations before getting married? First of all, I want to say I didn't have much expectations when I got married. I did not. I'm not even going to lie to you. The only thing I knew was that I was going to have a husband. I was going to be with my best friend every day. I was going to wake up and go to bed with him every night, and we were going to have children. And I did not think that deep about it. I was not seeking marriage when it happened. All I knew was that I loved this guy, and I just loved spending time with him, and he made me feel good about myself. I just felt comfortable with him. Like I did not, if I'm being honest with you, I did not think further than that until I was in marriage. And once I was in marriage, I won't even lie to you, there was a lot of growing up that had to happen, because I was only 23 years old when he first paid lobola for me. And I really honestly had to grow up very fast. I had to come to a lot of realizations, but because also I grew up in a home where there was stability, my grandmother and grandfather, and just how they carried themselves around us, I almost had like a reference So I was able to, I'm one person who can adapt easily, and I am one person who knows what to work on when it's time to work on something. So I didn't have expectations of marriage, but when I was in marriage, I realized that I had to grow up. There was a lot of work to do, and like selfishness and those kind of things, I had to work on that. I had to be aware of them, maybe not necessarily work on them, be aware that it's no longer just about me, it's about me, this person, and the future that we're trying to build with one another. If you're familiar with the Myers-Briggs personality test, I am, but I've never taken the test. It's too long, it's too tedious. I haven't taken the test. Which category would you say you fall under? Alternatively, would you consider yourself an introvert or extrovert? Babe, I will tell you that I am an ambivert. Like, it depends on where I am. I'm generally not a reserved person per se, and I'm not a very outspoken person like that. When it's necessary, I am. But if I was to walk into a room of people I don't know, I definitely would not be sitting in a corner and being in it, like be in my shell. If the environment allows, I will talk and I will be open. And if it doesn't, also I do read situations. So I will say that depending on what situation I'm presented with, or depending on what environment I'm in, a different me comes out. I'm not one or the other. I'm a combination of both. It's determined by the environment that I'm in, what comes out. So yeah, I have both. My husband says I used to be an introvert growing up. He is true somewhat, but I also think it had to do with a lot of maturing that I've had to do along the years. Like I'm saying, I met him when I was young, so I was still very immature. I still finding myself. Now that I'm comfortable in who I am, bro, I will read the room and I will act accordingly, basically. Lindokuhle Dlamini says, hi Sisi, have you always been this confident, or you taught yourself to be confident? So let me tell you, so growing up, I was particularly darker than I am right now. As I grew up, my skin lightened a little bit, okay? Growing up, when you are being teased for your dark complexion, and they make jokes about your complexion. During that time of my life, I've never felt like I was not good enough, I was ugly. I've never felt like that. I knew I was dark, but I also knew that I was beautiful, okay? Then I went to high school. I went to a colored school for 1 year. That year for me was torturous because I went to school, I used to have a big afro, I was dark in complexion. It was hard for me to stand in front of a mirror with colored girls with fair skin and long straight hair. I started feeling very insecure in who I was. And that year was a really tough year for me because also it was a year when I was like around 14, 15, and I was finding myself, right? And I struggled that year. But my mom changed schools, like she took me to a different school. And when I got to that school, I was seen, like when you are seen, I felt like, yeah, man. Yeah, this is the me that I've always known that I am. People appreciating my dark skin, people appreciating my big afro, my confidence came back. So, and it's never left me since then. So yeah, I feel like I've always been confident until just for that 1 year. That 1 year made a significant difference in my life. I really had to work on getting myself back to myself again. But otherwise, I feel like I've always been okay, I've really never really suffered with my confidence. Next is from Yolanda Masuku. She says, how would you describe yourself and life when you were in your 20s? When I was in my 20s, this is just the first part of the question. When I was in my 20s, I was self-aware. One thing about me, I've always been self-aware. I knew what I wanted and I didn't want. I knew what I wanted to be associated with. And as a result, even with the friends that I had growing up, they would do things. I would hang out with them, like during the day we'd hang out together, and then when it was time for them to go do their night things, whatever things that they were doing at night, I was always able to say, I don't want to do, I can do this with you, but I don't want to do that with you. So my life in my 20s was quite, I was never in trouble. If you go ask my grandmother, go ask my mom. I've never been a troublesome child. I've always known who I am and what I wanted and what direction I needed to take. As a result, I think it's because I had to make sure that I make the right decisions for myself, because like I'm saying, I was brought up by my grandmother. There wasn't a lot of advice that she could give me. I could not sit with her and talk to her about things that I was going through. My mom was also living a different life. I couldn't really, do that. So I realized very quickly that if I don't do these things for myself, if I don't take care of myself, I'm not gonna win in life. And I had to figure it out, literally figure it out myself. So yeah, she says, what do you think you should have focused on that matters now and shouldn't have focused on thinking it mattered but doesn't now? That's a hard question, because when you are faced with situations and you have to make decisions based on the situation you're faced with, so when I left school, unfortunately, my parents told me that's all they could do for me. From matric onwards, I had to see for myself. And then I forgot all my dreams, and I had to find a job and work and concentrate on that. I wish things were different. I wish I had gotten a chance to concentrate on my education first because of the age I was, and then think about work later, because once you start working, you're going to work for the rest of your life. Like, this is like in the ideal world, you're just going to work, but if you've built your foundation, you are able to, you have more choices in life. I wish I had prioritized, like I said before, I did not have like the right type of guidance to say, no, there's other avenues that you can approach, that you can take to get to where you want to be. So I wish I had gotten a chance to go to school further then, than starting to work, because then it was really hard to now go back to school after I started working. So yeah, I think that's what I would have focused on then instead of work. Sinaya M says, do you see yourself going back to corporate? What is your business? What is your businesses about, and what made you put them on hold? Love you lots. Love you too, sis. Thank you so much. So do I see myself going back to corporate? I will say to you, that's not my plan. But I've also learned that as a person, you need to be open-minded, because you can never tell what the future holds. I do have a little bit of a reserve for that in my life, because also I know that life changes. I do understand that I have children as well. I do understand that there's other things that I want in my life that require me to have a stable income. But at this present moment, I'm just concentrating on pushing my passions and giving it the chance that it deserves. I hopefully never have to go back to corporate again, or just working a formal job, but I am not closed off to it. She says, what is your business? Who are your businesses? What is your business about, and what made you put them on hold? So my business, okay, let's start like this. My first formal business was a hair business. I used to import weaves and sell them. That was my first formal business. My second business was a clothing business. I imported clothes from China, sold them. Later on, started making my own stuff and sold them on Instagram. And I did say this is the second one, COVID hit, and it just put a stop to everything, and I haven't been able to go back to it again. I'm hoping I will one day. The hair business, I just stopped doing it. I don't know why I did that. Don't ask me. I don't know. And then third business, I still sell hair pockets. You want to call them bonnets, I don't know. That is also a side hustle. Like I said before, I'm not actively promoting it, but I do have customers who come to me every now and then who know about the business and they buy from me. And the other business I have is a business where I'm selling raw shea butter, and that is also an active business that I'm doing right now, where I'm also not actively promoting the business, but the people that know about it come and buy from me. I am definitely going to be doing all of these things again at some point. I do have a hair dressing qualification, so hair is going to be my business again when the time is right. Clothes are definitely going to be my business again, one way or another, when the time is right. So yeah, those are the businesses that I went into, and why I left them. Some because of COVID, others I don't know why. Some are still active businesses right now. Lynn says, you seem very anchored in your faith. How did you get there? It's all I've ever known. If I'm being honest with you, it's all I have ever known. I grew up in a faith-based home. Yeah, like it's just something, it's all I've known, it's all I was taught, it's all that I have reference of. There's nothing else in my life that I can say I've been taught, to believe in. It's just been my faith, it's just been God. And she says, how did you get there? I grew up in it. And I've grown into it, and as an adult I've had to make choices. I've had to decide for myself if it's something that made sense to me, if it's something that worked for me, and it has worked for me, and that's that. It's something I've passed on to my children, and like there's no profound explanation to it. It just is for me, and it works for me. And she says, what advice would you give to a person that is struggling with faith, especially a Christian? What I will say to you is, you are probably questioning a lot of things. This is why maybe you feel like you're struggling with your faith. And I want to say to you, it's okay to ask questions. Just because you believe in God and you believe in Christ, it does not automatically mean you understand everything. And being a Christian is a very hard and complicated thing, because you cannot do it all by yourself. You need God for you to understand it. So what I would advise you to do is to not stop asking the questions. Seek the information that you need, ask God, and I would advise you to read the Bible for yourself. That will definitely help you. There is every scenario in the Bible you could ever think of. There is no problem that you are going through or facing, or confusion or difficulty, or whatever it is that you're facing in your life right now that is not referenced in the Bible. So you will find something, you will find a scenario, a character who's going through exactly what you're going through. The answers that you need are in the Bible. You will find them if you seek them for yourself. Don't wait for Sunday message at church, because it's not going to speak directly to what you're going through every time. Make time with God for yourself. If it's really something you want, if you want it for yourself, because you can want it, but you are struggling with it. And then it can just be a thing of, no, this is not working for me, I don't want it anymore. If you still want it for yourself, put in time, spend time with God, spend time reading the word, spend time in prayer, tell God exactly what is confusing you, and ask him to help you, and he will. So yeah, that's the advice that I would give you. Zaliseko Tutu says, hey sis, I want to know if you have worked in corporate. I've answered this question, or anyway, and how that experience was for you and why you stopped. If you have, I did explain why I stopped. I wanted to pursue my passions, and my experience of it, I will say my experience, except for a little bit of like racism in the previous companies I've worked for, it was okay. Like, it's just in corporate or like in the formal sector, you deal with a lot of egos. You have to learn to navigate around those. People want to make you feel like your life is completely and utterly dependent on them and what they can offer you, and outside of them, you can't make it. Like, it's that type of dealing with egos. That's the only thing that I'll say I don't like about just corporate, but otherwise, yeah, that's that. And Ntombentle Tuswa, she says, hi, how old are you? Hi Ntombentle, I'm 41, turning 42, blessed to be turning 42. I don't feel my age, I'll be honest with you. I love the fact that I'm this age and I don't feel like I'm aging. Like, I'm growing wiser, definitely, but I don't feel like I'm getting old, I'm definitely getting wiser, and it's a privilege for me to be this age and be able to bring up my children while I'm still fresh and I'm able to run around and do things with them. Yeah, so that's that. I think, guys, I've answered all the questions that you guys have asked me. I hope that I answered them to your guys' satisfaction, and I hope that you got to understand and know me better a little bit at least. I hope to grow with you guys on this channel. I hope to see you in the next videos that I upload. Thank you so much. Please comment down below if I've answered your questions to your satisfaction. But for now, it is adios. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.